12 minutes before 8 o'clock it is on Morning Live, and a warm welcome back. Now, celebrated for more than a decade, South African fashion label Rubicon is known for its subtle, unique African affluence for each collection. The creative director, Hangwani Nengovhela, who runs the fashion house, annually participates in fashion shows like SA, Paris, London, Ireland, etc. And she has recently launched her new line, Roots by Rubicon, at the Swahili Fashion Show. And this morning, we chat to her about her new venture. Ms. Nengovhela, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you for having me here. It's such an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Now, for the benefit of those who don't know about your venture, tell us more about Rubicon.
I think most people know about Rubicon, but they don't know the person behind Rubicon. Because I'm I'm more about selling, the product itself. And I've been working, over the years, on in terms of its infrastructure, in terms of the whole value chain. And I literally maybe detached myself from the brand itself.
Is it?
Because I was working more on the business side of things. And at the moment, I'm actually ready to speak more and be the voice behind Rubicon because I know it better. And it's like a thesis for me. And there's Rubicon. Rubicon, when it launched, it was Rubicon. And now I've dissected the brand into 3 facets. There's Rubicon, which is more high-end fashion. Rubicon Woman, which is ready to wear, where you'll find it maybe at retail chains, and also Roots by Rubicon, which recently launched in Tanzania.
Yeah, what's the inspiration behind it?
Roots, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, wrote. He was one of the people that wrote a research on Mabungubwe in the Northern Province, and that area was declared a World Heritage Site. And I've been very close to him, and I used to obviously, transport him when he was busy with the research itself. And for me, it's about going back to my roots, because roots is what makes a person, where we come from. And funny enough, from my maternal side, it's alleged that we originate from Mapungubwe.
Sure.
And I'm inspired by nature. I'm inspired by the cultural landscape from Mapungubwe, the sand dunes, and also the myth of origin in terms of the oral history that he presented in the report. And I love creating, obviously telling stories through the creation of fabrics that, in terms of the design concept, in terms of shapes, in terms of the fabric that I'll use, in terms of the prints that I use. And that's the story of Roots.
Now, having showcased in major fashion districts in the world, how has that taught you to embrace, your own style and designs?
I've always had my own sense of identity, and I always say that you are who you are. You don't have to be. No one must tell you to dictate who you are.
Sure.
So I've learned to embrace the true me. Being authentic with, the kind of work that I do, not to copy anyone. I'm not highly influenced by global trends, although we need to sell to the markets. Hence, I'm promoting the clothing revolution. I've been accredited recently by the FP&M SITA, so we are transferring skills throughout the region. And I've seen an appetite in the youth. There's so many youth. We know it's a fact that there's so much, in terms of youth that are unemployed out there. And there is a gap in the clothing industry. When I look at, I come from rural Venda, the former, homeland Venda, and there were many factories that closed down, that closed post 1994 that have closed down. So why not reopen those factories and, plant the youth, and create rural economy? Because, there's so much to be done in clothing. There's so much. We can't allow the Chinese to come and and implant something that we don't even know where these things are created from. It's best that we support the local industry.
Now, having a look at some of the mug shots which have been playing on your screens of your designs, what makes your fashion line different or unique from the other proudly South African brands?
Like I said, I've remained true to who I am. You know, growing up, I was highly influenced by my mother. I mean, I created my first garment at the age of 7 years old. So really, clothing is in me, is in my fiber. And I live fashion, I breathe fashion. And like I said, I'm not easily influenced by, you know, global trends. I'm who I am, and this is my identity in terms of clothing. And I go for simplicity. Yes, the classic line.
Yeah, it does look like you're an upcoming a fashion or household name. So how do you seek, or how do you aim to to give back to the young and the upcoming fashion designers?
By just giving them support, you know, and being there, especially because with the training that I'm doing, you know, we train, we've been doing a short skills program, and after that we give them like maybe a machine to start something from home or wherever they can, you know, they can go into, and also helping them to form cooperatives. I'm a voice behind cooperatives, and that's how they can, you know, create jobs for themselves. So I'm there to support, I'm there to coach, I'm there to tell them my story, and they can also create their own legacies.
Indeed, indeed. Well, Ms. Nengovhela, thank you so much for your time, and all the best for the year 17 and beyond.
Thank you.
All right, that was a fashion designer, Rubicon, the Roots by Rubicon rather. That's her latest fashion line. Now let's take a look at some of the